Hi, I'm Oscar 424, and we're gonna do an any percent Act 1 run of Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. I will say, this is me commentating over the run that I was planning to submit, because frankly this is a run where there are audio cues and visual cues I need to really pay attention to for the actual fight scenes. So I will be relying on commentary or commentators to help do this for me, or to do this alongside me. The first checkpoint, or the first split, the Lumiere split, is pretty much just kind of run, explore, tutorial, so there's not much going on, and I can kind of give it a little overview of everything. So Clair Obscur is kind of near and dear to my heart because it's I love RPGs, and this pretty much hit every single note on the head. And a cheeky reason I love this game is this actually came out on my 40th birthday. So this is one of the coolest birthday presents I inadvertently got. What I did right there is I did this cute little camera jump thing. It doesn't affect the run, it just kind of looks funny when the camera is having an existential crisis and zooming in and out. But here we're looking at combat for the first time. It's very turn-based with some Persona mechanics and Legend of Dragoon, real-time, QTEs, but you can see turn order on the left side of the window, and this is also where RNG plays a huge factor into what happens in this specific fight. Here is the most common thing you'll see, where you'll have to do 2 regular attacks, then a free aim, which I'll talk about in a second, and then Mael will attack twice, and you have to parry each time. Or you have to counter in some capacity so you don't get hit. Every once in a while, if you get a crit, which is an orange number on either your first attack or those free aim shots, or the counter, or I should say the first attack or the first counter attack, you don't have to do the free aims, so you can save about 3 some seconds. There's no rhyme or reason to manipulate that, it's just get lucky. Unfortunately, we got pretty much what's standard, so we did the fight normally there. As you can see, we switched characters. We've added a character named Sophie to the group. She won't be with us very long.
I'm fine.
Both within the party itself and within the storyline of this game.
We've had a whole
Clair Obscur, for all of its absolute stunning beauty, is very, very sad and tragic. I don't cry often in video games. I was sobbing like an infant at the ending of this, at the ending of Act 1, during this specific cutscene that we're going to be skipping. Also, we skip all the cutscenes, so you don't get to see them, you don't get the plot spoiled for the most part.
Would make a cute couple.
But,
I feel sorry for her.
so, a little bit more talk about combat systems, since again, there's not a whole heck of a lot going on for the first couple minutes of the game. You can use your basic attacks. You can use what's called free aim, which are essentially free shots, long-range shots, using whatever secondary attack your characters have. It could be a magic gun fingers. It could be, in this case, for Gustav, who's the main party member right now, an actual gun. But you can use as many shots as stored AP charges that you have in your character. So if you have up to 4 AP, you can do up to 4 free aim shots. Unfortunately, AP is also shared with your abilities, your skills, so you have to kind of balance when to use free aim, when to use your skills. For the bulk of the first half of this run, I'm pretty much just using free aims and basic attacks on Gustav, because that's all we really need. But otherwise, as we get further and further through the game, you'll start to use more skills, specifically when you get to the final couple bosses, which, spoilers, the 2 characters that are talking right now, Gustav and Mael, as soon as we get Mael, the other character that we acquire, Lune, doesn't exist in my party anymore. It's just these 2. And by these 2, I mean perfect for fatales, Mael is going to be carrying all of us. For her being a teenager, her shoulders are strong because she's putting everybody on her back and carrying us. Gustav does a really good job setting Mael up to do tons and tons of damage. So, good on him for, supporting Mael to make her even stronger. Anywho, the cutscenes I'm currently skipping right now are more sad and depressing ones. So again, if there's a cutscene, assume sadness. Anywho, we've left Lumiere. We're on to what's called the continent, the first area of the game, so we can get some real combat. And here I'm going to talk about parries, which you'll see for 98% of the counters, and to a lesser extent, dodges. Now, when an enemy attacks, you have the option to either dodge or parry. Dodging is easier than parrying. However, with successful parry, you get a counterattack. This is also an RNG attack because the Lancelier will either attack slowly or quickly. We got slowly, so adds a second. But right there, so I was able to do a perfect parry, and in doing so, I got a counterattack. The counterattacks are probably the overall most important part of both the Act 1 run and the full game, any percent runs, because they do an obscene amount of damage. It's just significantly more damage than your levels would normally allow. And you'll see once we get to our first boss fight, the terror of pretty much the entirety of Act 1, Avec. You'll see that difference in damage right there. But also, if there's an attack that, if it's a 3-hit attack, you have to perfect parry all 3 hits to get the counter. If you miss one, if you choose to dodge instead on one of those hits, you do not get the counter. And so dodges are much easier to do. The catch is you don't get to counterattack, so it's a bit of a safer option. And you'll see me do that, I believe, in the Lampmaster fight. Anyway, we have another cutscene. We have found another character. We found Lune. She's joined our party. She's our mage. Straight up, she's our mage. This is the only time you'll see her use her ice spear. The rest of the time, for the Evac fight, you'll see the immolation skill. But, yeah, so, again, pretty straightforward. Gustav just does some damage, passes it on to Lune, and she'll do the bulk of damage and status effects, especially for the Evac fight. With one exception, that's the overcharge skill that Gustav has. Right now, you'll see me do hopping on occasion. This is a shout out to my Maid of Scare run, where pretty much everything, around you, you can get caught on, and it'll trip you up, and you will stop dead in your tracks, and you don't know why. That's what this game does, too. Even when she's floating, she can still get caught on rocks on the ground. I don't get the logic either. Also, in this little spot right here, there's an enemy that on occasion, if you look at it funny, or depending on the time of day, I don't know, it'll just drop down. We can still ignore it. It's fine.
They'll regroup there.
Anywho, we are slowly getting our way through this area. Well, quickly getting our way through this area. It's a pretty big area. And we just kind of avoid most of it. That flag that we just passed is kind of like the checkpoints, the campfires for Souls games, if you will. That's where you can rest, you can upgrade your skills, upgrade your attributes. You can see right there, a rock decided to jump up and stop me, because that's what it does. It's fine. Anywho, this is a pretty scripted fight. There'll be 2 attacks. Again, it's either a regular speed attack or a quick attack, and I'll be countering both. These were, unfortunately, both slow attacks, so again, RNG is not in my favor. You'll see, specifically for Francois, RNG pretty much cost me a minute. That's the thing about this game. It's, if you get unlucky, there are just situations where you do everything right, the game says no, and you lose a minute of time. Avec is a problem child for that. It is torturous for Expedition 33 runners. Francois, there's a specific attack you do where I did everything right. I did
Someone
I did perfect fight on my end. It just, I have a very high chance of critting, and you need that crit to do everything in one rotation, and
for that.
didn't get the crit, so you'll see that later. Yeah, so
Expedition 80.
just one of those things. So we are actually heading close to Avec, who is our first boss fight, and I think Avec in French is Bishop?
Survivors.
I looked that up once,
Hurry.
I couldn't remember. Right here you'll see me do a little jump. It's quicker to just make this jump and then jump around that glowing like route instead of going the long way around. Right here I'm actually equipping these Pictos, so these kind of stat affecting things. I actually switch from controller to mouse here because it's a little bit faster to maneuver through these menus to get those Pictos on there. Also, you'll see me use a flag ability, giving everybody might, which is basically I'm making them strong. And Gustav is getting the marking shot ability, which doesn't do much damage by itself, but it creates this giant red X on an enemy. And the next damage done to that enemy, be it an attack, a counter, or anything, it does bonus damage. Now, Avec. The bane of every speedrunner's existence in this game. There's a couple things we need to look for. If you look at the bottom right hand corner for Gustav's portrait, you'll see 2 of 10. Now it's become 3 of 10. First, we need that to hit 10 of 10 by his 4th turn. Second, we have to be very cognizant of how much damage we're doing to Avec. Because what we're trying to do is avoid the shield phase. And that's, Avec will automatically add like 8 or 9 shields when it gets angry, but it's at a certain threshold, so we're trying to avoid that. We're going back and forth between putting on the marking shot to Avec, which is the red X, and then Luna using immolation, which is causing a burn status effect. So right now, you can see on Avec's health bar, there's 5 stacks of burn, there's about 10 stacks of burn, and every additional stack does more damage. So I'm paying attention to the counters, making sure we parry appropriately. I think you'll see me dodge a little bit because I get a crit shot or 2. Yep, right there with you saw the white and the orange number. White's a regular attack, or regular stat, or damage numbers. Orange is the crit shot, and this is why I'm starting to really paying attention to what I'm doing to this boss, because I don't want to hit the shields. When you get the shields, any hit will knock off a shield. So 8 shields, this is the situation where it adds like a minute and a half. And the problem is when you set up to do the kill shot, which is what I'm doing right now, I hit the crit spot on Avec.
For those who come after.
We'll talk about in a second. Right now, I have done enough damage to skip the shield phase, and in fact, I did skip the shield phase. Every once in a while, Avec will just say no. I want to use shields anyway, and we'll give you the shield phase. It is a very, very annoying situation that it's every Expedition 33 speedrunner has dealt with that. But thankfully, we didn't have to deal with shields. There's no additional damage at this point. We just pop the shields and then do a little bit more damage to them. Let's see here.
The message said head
So what I did there is at the end where I used a skill called Overcharge with Gustav, and that was at 2 of 10 becoming 10 of 10. Once you're at 10 of 10, you do significantly more damage with that ability. So once I got to Gustav's 4th turn, I took out his free aim because I had like 8 or 9 AP, and I did free aim shots to bring me down to 4 AP because I need that for Overcharge. Right now I'm going to camp to basically skip a cutscene because in the next area we're going to do some really silly stuff, and this is where the run becomes really strange looking. But with Overcharge, I should say, did the free aim shots, shot the very glowing bubble in Avec's chest. That's their weak spot. Shot it, did a whole bunch of damage, used Overcharge, and was able to beat the boss. Now, Flying Waters, we do a thing shortly called a null warp. This is one of the big things that Any percent allows and restricted does not. We do 2 null warps in this entire run. And in doing those 2 null warps, we skip about a third of the entirety of Act 1. And we actually skip acquiring the 4th character, which gets a little weird after we do the first null warp and we're setting up for the second. Because the 4th character, Ciel, is talking because she's supposed to be in the party and she's actually not in our party. So you just kind of have to say, so, surprise person. And we also see our first out-of-bounds skip, which for normally glitchless inbounds runner like myself was kind of cool. It is a very challenging skip, though, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Right now is when things get funny. We're going to set up for the null warp, and what we're doing is we're basically storing some of our autosaves. So you'll see me get to a rest stop, or rest the flag, get a save in progress, and then load the previous save twice. You'll see each time is a save in progress. What I'm doing right now is I'm also paying very close attention to the playtime, so I know which save I have to go back to successfully do this null warp. Because if I don't go back to the correct one, everything is borked. So we're trying to avoid that. When I do the run, I usually call out, all right, everyone, remember this time, just as a backup. Anywho, we're in a manor underwater. We're supposed to be here right now. It's fine. We just got teleported to a really cool looking place. It's cool. Anyway, so Mael we have just found, and she's going to be joining our party, and this is when you get to see the null warp in action. What I'll do is I will load the previous save, that 1355, which put me back outside of this hut. Now I'm going to activate this flag, go into this menu, and immediately back out of the flag as soon as I load the save. And now we're falling with Mael out of bounds. We just load the save again, and now we've skipped the rest of the manor that we were just in, and a little bit more plot. So we have Mael in the party, and we are just progressing.
Guess we found 68's
That is a null warp in a nutshell. The thing is, with using activating the flag in between loading the save and the save loading, if you have to activate and deactivate using the flag. Because if you don't deactivate in time, you lose the ability for the rest of the time you're playing this until you close the game and restart it. You lose the ability to autosave, and you can't do any more null warps. So it is very imperative we open and close using the flag menu properly. Alright, so that's null warp 1. I'd love to talk about it a little more. We'll see it again shortly. Relatively. Anywho, this is the Flying Waters Out of Bounds skip. And it is tough. And you'll see I struggle bus a little bit on it. So you are clearly jumping in places you're not supposed to be. What you'll see me, I have most luck with Mael doing these just because I just placebo and say she's smaller so she can fit into it really makes no difference. But what I'm doing is I'm jumping like a bunny rabbit to try to hit very specific spots in the coral. And then when I get to a certain spot, I will do that kind of like that right there. Thanks to me in the past for doing that in time. To stop my momentum. Because you'll see she'll do a forward somersault and kind of kicks me into awkward areas. So we've finished the first part of the Flying Water skip. Now we are well and truly out of bounds. This little area is a little bit tricky to see on my monitor, especially because it's really dark. So right here, I actually force an autosave because for some reason I have mad issues with Mael hitting the ceiling on this jump, and you'll see me quite literally fail it a few times. And it's just quicker to hit that auto load save, go back and try again. I think it takes me like 2 or 3 times to try this. This isn't too much of a time loss. It's still significantly faster than going the full way. Like we're skipping that whole Flying Waters area. We're skipping Goblu, who is the boss of Flying Waters, and a whole bunch of other cutscenes and whatnot. So I think this one I get it. Thanks to me in the past. So yeah, we're continuing on to our out of bounds, and I'm going to make one more autosave. In the process, or I should say, to make these autosaves, you have to make some change to your characters or your party. I've already taken Luna out of the party, so it's just Gustav and Mael. Mael is our damage dealer. The changes I'm making to her specifically are adding or swapping out Pictos between Gustav and Mael. I was so mad when I missed that jump right there, because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I hit an invisible wall, because of course I did. But by making those changes, the game auto-saves those changes for you, which is a really nice thing to do when you're trying to do this really, really long out-of-bounds skip. That's still, again, we're about 2/3 of the way. Actually, no, we're about 2/3 of the way done with it. It still saves so much time. And right now I'm trying to wedge myself into a specific spot in between here and then walk myself up and jump right there. I almost ended up reloading. I was like, actually, no, I can recover from this. So it's just kind of a matter of hopping back and finding those really minuscule spots that you're supposed to, or that not you're supposed to. You're not supposed to be here. It's fine. But that you can actually jump on. So we're going to try it again. And the reason why this gets so scary is pretty much at any time during this part of the out of bounds skip, if you fall anywhere, you are soft locked. So having those backup autosaves is really, really, really beneficial. And when I say like this particular out of bounds skip is not easy, yeah, the world record holder, it takes a few tries for them to get this as well. Like, this is rough. That said, we've pretty much cleared the hard part. Now I'm just landing on the coral right here. You'll see me, that confused me the first time. That's just, you're climbing onto an invisible wall so you can get back in bounds. I've had it where I have fallen down and not climbed that invisible wall. And as it turns out, I'm still in the corals and we're soft locked. So, that said, we have fully skipped flying waters. My dog, if you've heard that, is very happy that we did.
Trust him.
We are back at camp, and that's kind of like the rest stop where you can check in with your allies and whatnot. Upgrade skills, weapons. Right here, we're upgrading Mael's weapon, because again, she is going to be carrying us for the rest of this run. We're going to give Gustav and Mael some more attributes. Might, again, making them stronger. And then Gustav is going to get powerful, which just makes everybody a lot stronger. And then Mael is going to get swift stride, which deals with how her character fights. We'll explain that a little bit. But with I should say, actually right now we're actually setting up the next null warp. So you'll see me do some more auto loads, auto saves. And now we're heading on to, we're just skipping, this is the part we will just go from where we're supposed to be to Eskier's Nest, which skips 2 or 3 areas. The character, like, you're supposed to go to the red area. We're going to go to the white area. We're just skipping a lot there. But one thing I didn't mention is what's so beneficial in this game, specifically for leveling up characters, is you get XP for beating enemies and bosses. You also get an additional 20% bonus XP for taking no damage. So in those first couple fights before Avec, if I took damage from anybody, I don't have enough XP to fully get the level ups that I need to, or the abilities, so I would have to take an additional fight. Anywho, this is Out of Bounds skip number 2, and it's going to be some more jumping. That was a frustrated, I have made this jump so many times on the first try before, and of course now I'm missing it, because that's just how it is. So we are going to jump like mountain goats, and we are going to fall down this area and go through a rock, because that rock is more of a suggestion than anything. We are again well and truly out of bounds at this point, and to get back in, the general rule of thumb is drop your settings to 30 frames per second, jump around and pray, because we are trying to wedge ourselves back in bounds, and it's just easier to pull off when you're at 30 frames per second. So you'll see me take care of that. And now we are just trying to jump. I found if I slide down to a certain spot and kind of run and do a little bit of jumping, I'm able to kind of kick myself out a lot quicker than normal. Anywho, so this next fight is Francois, who is our rock turtle friend, who uses the strongest ice attack ever, you'll see shortly. And this is also where I was internally furiously screaming because RNG is not in my favor. See? Strongest ice attack ever. Anyway, this is a very scripted fight, and that's all Francois will use, is the strongest ice attack ever. So we are just using the abilities in a very specific order to knock off all the shields. Now. Eventually, so what I'm doing with Mael is she's a fencer. She uses different stances. There's stanceless, offensive, defensive, and what she switches to now is Virtuose. That ability that we purchased switches to Virtuose once we have the enemy burning. Now here, I dodge instead of parry so I can keep the mark on, and here, if you get a crit shot, Francois is dead right there. And I was very mad because I did not get the crit shot. With the Pictos that Mael has, that's also me getting very frustrated and just dying right then and there, getting hit by the strongest ice attack ever. With the burn, I should be doing enough damage. I should increase my crit chances. With the mark shot, I should be increasing my crit chances. And it didn't happen. I was so upset. But you just keep going on. You can start the rotation again of using the mark shots, switching over to Virtuose. But I just say, no, I can do enough damage in defensive. We can end the fight. And yeah, I pretty much lost about a minute at a time right there. Which, yeah, when this turned out to be a PB, I was really upset. But it's fine. So we beat Francois. He told us to scram, and now we get to meet both our rotund son, the beautiful Esquier, who is the best boy. Well, Esquier and Minoko both are the best boys. The woman that's talking right now is Ciel. That is the character we skipped. So the game thinks she's in the party, but she's not. It's fine. So those autosaves we did in the camp previously, we are going to get the fruits of that labor by doing the second null warp right here. So what you'll see is me loading the previous save back in the camp. I'll walk up to the flag, make sure I can activate the flag, and then reload the save, activate the flag, and deactivate the flag in a very short time frame. It'll be a dark screen, so I'm pretty sure I've gotten it right. Load the save again, and then I will, if I can skip a cutscene, I know I'm in the right spot. And I can skip a cutscene. You'll also see something a little weird in the form of Lune and Mael have now duplicated, and you can, it's fine. Also, that big giant marshmallow of wine and memes, that's Esquier. Esquier is a good boy. He is best boy. He's a sweetheart, and we love Esquier, the expedition crews. But with that, we are heading off to the last area. This is Stonewaves Cliffs. This is the final area of Act 1. With and you'll get to see a little bit more, one more out of bounds skip, cave skip that was recently added, I think. Yeah, you could see Lamp Master fight, which is also a little bit of RNG heck. But overall, it's a terrifying fight because there's a lot of audio and visual cues you have to listen to parry properly. Probably what I would be doing from a marathon standpoint is I would be deafening myself as the Lamp Master fight's going on, because I end up missing, I think, one parry in here, but those could be catastrophic to the fight itself, and it's a two-phase fight with a lot going on. So as we're running to the cave skip, which is going to be in a farm-like area, I'll say what's cool about Act 1 is you get to Act 1 specifically. The game's 3 acts long. You get to see a lot that the speedrun as a whole has to offer in a nice, tightly wrapped short package. The route is fairly routed at this point. Now we're just trying to figure out some RNG silliness to kind of maneuver around and a few new skips, but for the most part, this is the probably the main route that a lot of people are using. Once you get to Act 2 and Act 3, it pretty much turns into a boss rush for the rest of the act, or the rest of the route, or rest of the run. Words are hard, okay? But I pretty much say that every time I talk, so it's fine. So yeah, Act 1 gives a lot to offer. There are things you don't get to see, but like a few other, obviously null warps, a whole bunch of the boss fights. But like I said, it's a nice package, a nice, small, nicely wrapped package that gives you a little bit of taste of everything.
A shrine to the paintress.
Yeah, we are getting close to the actual farm, the old farm is that particular area is called. What you'll see me do is I'll stop and I'll start aiming at these weird looking like blobs of energy. That is essentially a picto cage, an energy cage. It's going to give me a weapon for my L. It's going to be an upgrade weapon. It's a really cool looking weapon, but I use that to essentially do a little bit more than like single point damage to Lampmaster, because we are grossly underleveled at this point in time. I think we're like level 2 or 3, roughly.
Looks like a farm.
So yeah, this is the old farm. This is where we both get that weapon upgrade, and then you get to see the farm skip. Now I'll stop at this little like bishop looking thing, and then you'll see me aim at 3 very specific items. My aim just decided to not behave on controller today. So I'll run over, I'll go to where the cage was, and I'll pick up this red item, which is this cool like pink thorned weapon for my L. And now I'm trying to get out of bounds. Now there's very like, the little spots that I'm aiming for are very, very, very tiny. I kind of shocked myself by hitting it that quickly, so we're not going to talk about that. But there's a very, very, very tight jump that's coming up, and I'm going to take that time to do an autosave. And I still have one more menu I have to do. Mild panic attack right there, but it was easily salvageable. So I make this jump right here. Again, have another panic attack, and then swap out some Pictos for Gustav. I give him a little bit of strength with the augmented first strike, and then with my L, I change her stagger into first strike. So all that does in the beginning of that fight, she plays first. So which you didn't hear with the actual run proper, I screamed when I hit that first try, because that is a very, very, very small window to hit. So I'm hooping and hollering at this point, while also cursing Francois' existence for not giving me the crit back in SK's cave. SK's nest. But so basically what we've done is, the cave is like this U, and instead of going the entirety of the U, we just bypassed it and like connected the exit to the entry, and just skipped it all. Because with that, we are actually at the final area. We are going to be heading towards Lamplighter, or I call him Lamplighter, but Lampmaster, with one of the coolest like walk-ups, period. I love this. I straight up love this. And not the creepy purple light in the distance. Fun fact, after you beat Lampmaster, you can come back to this area, and that lamp is still there. Also, that cutscene you got to see very briefly. You saw Lune and CL, but CL didn't disappear. It's fine. Anywho, this is the Lampmaster fight. It'll use a series of different attacks, and the Phase 2 attacks, yes, there's a Phase 2, they're different. In Phase 1, after every single attack Lampmaster does, it'll use that lamp, that 4-hit lamp thing. And this is where I have to be very, very carefully paying attention to its attacks, because this attack, you can hear a lot of them use audio cues. So again, this is where probably deafening myself from commentary will be super important. there are certain attacks where it's entirely visual. Like this one is a very visual attack for me. Actually, visual and audio. So that followed, or with that really bright purple-white explosion, I know I have to use the parry command between the explosion and the audio to hit it appropriately. But otherwise, this is much like Francois. This is a very scripted fight with the abilities I'm using. Once you do enough damage to Lampmaster, there's a cutscene, and now you are outside, and you'll see a lot of Lampmasters. A lot of the times, Lampmaster gets 2 turns in a row, which is unfortunate, because then he can do a super strong attack. As you can see, the more Maëlle gets to counter, the happier I am, because Maëlle's counters are, because she's a lot stronger than Gustav, they're a lot stronger than Gustav's counters. So, if you're able to disrupt the lamp spell, which, spoilers, you don't, Lampmaster won't use that sword attack. But it's a perfect way to counter and get more damage on him. So, I will say, as we're getting to this portion, for this particular category, time ends on the black screen after the stats menu. So, you'll see the stats menu for beating Lampmaster for like a half a second. So I can end time, because I know I'm on PB pace right now. So I'm just gonna like rush through this. The lamp ritual right here. Basically, if you can shoot with the free aim, shoot the lamps in the order they light up, you can prevent that sword attack. But again, we use it for counters. So. Right now I'm switching over to Virtuos to do the 200% bonus damage, and then jump. Gustav will use Marking Shot, and then this is another situation where I want the mark to carry on over to Maëlle's attack. So, although I can counter this sword, I will just choose to dodge. That way, the mark is still on, she can use her per se, and do a lot of damage. So, at this point, it's kind of, I should say, that thing right there, there are specific attacks that you jump to avoid. There's always that little icon that shows you where to jump. And if you jump appropriately, you can do bonus damage.
For those who come after.
So, at this point, I am stunning Lampmaster, and it's basically a free fight as long as I switch to offensive. Gustav will use one more Marking Shot, and then Maëlle will end it with per se. Right now. And with that, I rush through the screen, and as it turns out, that's time. Specifically for Act 1. Yeah, the double scythe person with the midriff, that's a character we skipped, but she's in the cutscene, it's fine.
Looks like it.
But yeah, that is it for Act 1 any percent. This is a really fun, RNG filled for as short as it is run, but it's got a little bit of everything. It's got great combat, great out of bounds skips, null warps, and it's a nice tight package when you don't have much time. So I hope you enjoyed it. That's pretty much it. Pay no attention to this screen. That fight is not part of the Act 1 because reasons, and that's a plot fight. Yeah. So yep, that's it. I hope you had fun. Again, I should have said I'm Oscar424, but you should probably, I think you know who I am by now. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed. Bye.